one more question I wanted to ask you is, we put together, I asked you to put together a League One -10 team. And so just to finish off the show, can you run us through the team that it makes your League One -10 team over the time you've been running the blog?
Yeah, sure. So 10 years, some of these won't jump out the page at people. Some of them will. So I'm not interested in an argument over this. I've chosen some of these players for sort of personal reasons. Some of them because they're very good players. Some of them because they sort of like came along at important times. Like the goalkeeper, I've chosen Artur Boruc as the goalkeeper because, in my opinion, when we got to the Premier League, he was the first goalkeeper that we had that I thought this guy is actually the correct level. Goalkeeper is a hugely important position. Sets the tone for the whole thing. I loved Artur Boruc. He had a mistake in him, and he was a complete lunatic. It's great. I won't hear a bad word said about him. I thought he was great, and I thought he was very unlucky to get bombed out when he did, when the club signed Fraser Forster, because I don't think he'd done anything wrong. But he went. Honourable mention to Fraser Forster, who, when Koeman was here, was great, but it's gone downhill a little bit since then. But so Artur Boruc in goal, right back. It's a difficult one. We haven't been blessed in that area with a succession of fantastic players. So the best I'd go for is Nathaniel Klein, who again stepped up from. He was playing in the Championship with Crystal Palace, and he signed for us, and he stepped up and played well for a number of years, disappearing off to Liverpool, that well-trodden path. Left back, Brian Bertrand. I find it quite disturbing that he's been linked with moves away. He's still our best left back by a mile, and he's been a superb player for 4 or 5 years we've had him. Central defence, the best partnership we had was Font and that guy with the silly hair who plays for Liverpool now, Mr. Van Dijk. Just a different level. Knew he was too good for us, basically, within about 5 minutes of watching him. Just thought, we're not going to hang on to this player for very long. He is so good. And I've tried not to be too bitter, so I'll go with Van Dijk. And Jose Font made everybody look good who played next to him.
Absolutely.
I think that's being appreciated now. Again, I'm overlooking the sort of dickhead mode he went into when he won the Euros with Portugal. He signed for us. He dropped a division to play for us, and that was a huge signing at the time, right back at the start. Again, you know, you build a successful team from the back, and he was a massive part of that. A magnificent player for us, and he could probably still do a job now.
Yeah, and not to interrupt you there, but I think Puel ruined him. When we went to the Europa League, having gone through all that with him. From dropping down and coming all the way up through the leagues and kind of leading the team, for Puel not to play him in the Europa League, I think that had to be the final straw maybe for him.
Yeah, possibly. I think as I alluded to, he didn't do himself any favours, but
sure.
With his sort of almost demanded a transfer when he as soon as he got back from the Euros. But
sure.
In some ways, I can kind of understand why he did that. He was 32. He was probably thinking, I've only got 3 or 4 years left. I need to go and play for a big club.
Yep.
And it's kind of worked out for him. But as with all these players who leave, it's the way you do it.
Yeah.
It's the way you do it as much as actually doing it. I mean, no one gives Sadio Mane or Luke Shaw a hard time when they come back. Whereas there are others who do get a hard time, and there's a very obvious reason for that. But yeah, Font and Van Dijk. Into the midfield, I've gone for sort of 2 central midfielders. When we had Victor Wanyama and Morgan Schneiderlin in the centre of midfield, that was the time when I thought we are so solid. You know, we had 2 centre backs who were solid. Usually it was either Font and even Lovren. Font and Lovren looked good together when they had Wanyama and Schneiderlin in front of them. Those two. They used to boss games, and we've always struggled in midfield a little bit. I feel Højbjerg has come through now, and he's going to be an excellent player as long as he sticks around. But Wanyama and Schneiderlin for me were 2 players that I thought were excellent for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone a sort of 4-2-3-1 formation. The next bit was the difficult bit, which is the three behind the striker. So I've gone Sadio Mane, who's just an electric player, great player for us. Had his ups and downs a little bit. He seemed to take a holiday at Christmas whilst still being on the pitch. He used to seem to struggle a bit with that, but he made a huge difference for us. Just his pace frightened the hell out of teams and created space for other players. Next player along, a steady one, Steve Davis. Steve Davis, a brilliant player for us for 6 or 7 years. Probably stayed a year too long, but he was excellent. And in that team that Pochettino had, where he played in that midfield three, just behind the striker, he did a great job there. Never scored a lot of goals, but just he was one of those players that enabled everyone else to do their thing, and he was great. This one will surprise you. It's Adam Lallana, who was, let's face it, he was really, really good for us for a few seasons. A massive, massive bell end, thick idiot, thick as mince, but on the pitch, he did the job for a number of seasons. So he has to be in there. And up front, it's a straight shootout between Ricky Lambert and Graziano Pella. I thought Graziano was a fantastic player, but you cannot look past Ricky Lambert for his importance. We paid £1 million for him, which in League One terms was quite a lot of money at the time. But the journey he went on, culminating with scoring on his England debut and getting in the England squad for the World Cup. That's something else. So Ricky Lambert up front. So you've got Boruc, Klein, Bertrand, Font, Van Dijk, Wanyama, Schneiderlin, Lallana, Davis, Mane, and Ricky Lambert. There you go.
I think that's great. I think that team would that team in those years, probably when we remember them playing their best, would definitely give people some trouble.
There's a few honourable mentions I'd like to make as well.
Okay.
Toby Alderweireld, brilliant for a season. Dean Hammond, vitally important player in the promotion years for setting the standard. Not the greatest ability-wise, but he was 100% every game, and you could tell that everyone else, sort of tried to keep up with him. Nathan Redmond has got, had a brilliant season last season. I've got a feeling he's just going to get better and better. Jay Rodriguez for one season was absolutely superb, and then unfortunately got injured. And another left field one, Billy Sharp, vitally important for the season that we got promoted out of the Championship, because he came in January and scored about 10 goals, and that was very important for getting us over the line. All
right. Well, yeah.
That's your substitutes.
Absolutely. If I not to throw this at you, but who would manage this team?
I put a question on Twitter about, and I didn't word it terribly well, so I got a lot of silly responses, but who's been the best manager of the last 10 years was kind of what I meant to say. I'll go with the majority here, and they kind of went for Pochettino as being our. So I'd have to say him with Nigel Adkins as assistant, but I'd go with Pochettino. And he wouldn't have a place for some of the great players we've had, like Mayuka and Whammy and Paul Watton and people like that. I started putting together a dreadful 11, but I got about 6 players in and then got bored with it. So no, it'd definitely be Pochettino as the. I'm not including Ralph in that conversation because he's still there, but and he's only been here 5 minutes. So no, I definitely say that over the last 10 years, Pochettino has been our most impressive manager. Just wish he'd stayed a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Yeah. Well, for real now, I think. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And sorry to have to bring you back on. I can't believe I sorry.
That's all right.
But anyway, Glenn, thanks again. And we'll do this, and I'll be, we'll do this again.
No problem at all.